Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God, and as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully you'll be edified with what we've put together for you here. Well, this video is going to be quite short, and what I'd like to do is share a few clips from my interview with Father Deacon Anthony on Eastern Catholic traditions, spiritual warfare, etc. And there are 3 clips in this video. You can refer to the timestamps in the pinned comment below to help you navigate through the video much easier. And we'll start with this, where I asked him how has the conflict between Russia and Ukraine impacted the Catholic churches in Ukraine.
Yeah, you can't trust the news. You really can't. Most of what I trust about Ukraine is what I hear from people on the ground there. And we have people in our church who are there, and I hear things. I hear things from my bishop, who goes there to visit pretty regularly. I hear things from my metropolitan bishop, Archbishop Boris, who goes there, and he's very much connected. And what they say, I trust. I trust. So what people don't realize is that in the territories of Ukraine that Russia has seized, that Russia has conquered, there was no religious freedom. You see, Putin does not believe in religious freedom. So what happened was those territories that he conquered, he shut down the Catholic churches. He shut down the Protestant churches. He arrested some of our priests, and some of them were kidnapped for a period of time. Thankfully, they were eventually released, but we had priests who were kidnapped by the Russians. But in those territories that Russia has conquered, the first thing they do is outlaw Catholicism. People don't understand this. It's sad because I've seen a lot of traditional faithful Catholics online who are rooting for Russia. They seem to think that Russia is the savior of Christianity, and they want to see Russia conquer Ukraine. I've seen this, and it blows my mind, but these people don't typically realize that in those parts of Ukraine that Russia has taken, the Catholic Church is persecuted. They don't understand that. So that's a big problem. Yeah, that's how people seem to think that Russia is a bastion of Christianity, but I think that's an appearance that Putin wants to put out there. And he wants it to appear that Russia is the bastion of Christianity. But I mean, he routinely assassinates people. It's very well known that anyone who disagrees with him falls out of a window. That happens all the time. Plus, in Russia, if it's supposedly such a Christian nation, but abortion is one of the primary means of birth control there. Putin doesn't seem to do a whole lot to try and stop that. I understand there have been some more restrictions lately, but it's still very widespread. I think Russia appears to be a very Christian nation on the surface, but when you dig deeper, there are problems there. Now, there are a lot of wonderful, sincere Christians in Russia. I have no doubt about that. But I don't see Putin as being their authentic representative.
And I also asked him about his comment from one of his previous interviews, where he said about some people in the church were trying to bring about Roman Catholic tradition into the Eastern Catholic churches.
So you hear this term sometimes in the Eastern Catholic world, Latinization. And that refers to when Eastern Catholic churches, kind of throw out our own traditions and replace them with Latin, Roman Catholic traditions. We stop doing things the Eastern way and do things the Roman way. And the Catholic Church tells us not to do that. I mean, there are so many documents from the Catholic Church saying that Eastern Catholics have an obligation to maintain our traditions and to preserve them, because the Eastern traditions are just as much part of the Catholic Church as the Western tradition is. I mean, we're representatives of the Eastern Fathers, right? We're carrying on the traditions of, Basil the Great, John Chrysostom, St. Athanasius, all these amazing Eastern Fathers. Their tradition is our tradition today, and we as Eastern Catholics represent that. So to be fully Catholic, the church needs to have both the West and the East. Pope John Paul II said that the church has 2 lungs, a Western lung and an Eastern lung, and it needs to breathe with both to be healthy. So we have this obligation to preserve our tradition. But what happens sometimes is that Eastern Catholics themselves try and model what they're doing after the Latin tradition. So Latinization typically almost always comes from Eastern Catholics who want to mimic the larger Roman Catholic Church. And that's simply a matter of when you have a smaller group and a bigger group, there's always a tendency for the smaller group to want to mimic the larger group. That's a temptation that's always there. So if you're in a society that's predominantly Roman Catholic like this one, a lot of the Eastern Catholics here wanted to show that they were Catholic too, and they did that by throwing out our traditions and replacing them with Latin traditions. And the Vatican tells us do not do that. And there's been a real effort since Vatican II to restore our Eastern traditions and to remove anything artificial that was forced in, because the Eastern tradition, it belongs to the whole church, and we have to preserve it and keep it alive for the church. We can't just throw it out and replace it with what's more popular.
And for the last clip in this video, I'd like to share this clip of him as he shares how he starts attending the Eastern Catholic Church in the first place.
Okay, so when I was growing up, I was raised Roman Catholic, which I love, still love very much. But growing up, my parents took me to visit an Eastern Catholic church in the Byzantine tradition. I was a little boy, maybe 7 or 8, but it really spoke to me. I just felt like there's something magical there. I didn't understand it, but it just drew me in. When I got older, I made friends with the neighborhood boy next door. He became my buddy. His family was Eastern Catholic. They invited me to go to church with them. And I went to church with them a few times, and I loved it. I didn't understand it, but I knew that something mystical was going on. And I remember even dreaming about it at night. I have dreams about the Divine Liturgy, which is what we call the Mass. And when I got older, got to be a teenager, I started going to the Eastern Catholic churches more regularly. And when I was 21, I just felt like God wanted me there for some reason. So I ended up officially changing rites and becoming Byzantine Rite at that point. And again, love of the Roman tradition, still nothing but tremendous love and respect for it. But it just seemed to me that God wanted me in the Byzantine Rite. I just had that feeling that that's where I belonged. And been there ever since. And I became a deacon in 2018. I was ordained by my bishop for the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, which is a worldwide church, but we're based out of Kyiv in Ukraine. And as a deacon, I'm referred to as father or father deacon or deacon. Any of those titles work. But in the Byzantine tradition, we don't just reserve the title father for priests. We also use the title father for anyone who's a spiritual father, including deacons, and also monks who are not ordained can be called father as well.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully all of you have learned a lot from this video. Remember, if there's any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.